You should be able to get into the record search over there. Set up phone too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we worked on it a lot.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
I gotta get up here, boy.
I'm making it back. Welcome back.
I do my best to schedule my travel.
Share.
Yes. It's not like that one time, we went till what, after 5 o'clock? That was brutal.
We're good.
We're all right.
We got it.
Yeah, I'm happy I missed that.
I thought I left it somehow.
Oh, these? Hey, we went by, fire line.
Oh, auspicious group.
Saturday.
Yeah.
You like it? Yeah. You know, I think that most people won't go to eat dinner. But I thought the atmosphere was awesome.
They've done good.
Yes, and the food that we had, the atmosphere was good.
Not quite.
They don't use it to grab that.
Wake them up. Turn the volume on.
Smart
So Allie's like, I'll take it. She did it back. He comes out of the kitchen just no, I'm giving you that back. So I said, just give me a card. He brings out, he will kill me to make another sweet. Yeah.
All right, it is 12:30, so I would like to call to order this meeting of the Loudon Regional Planning Commission. If you are able, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abigail Allshouse. Here. Dennis Brennan.
Here.
Clayton Tangle.
Here.
Tim Henley. Brandon DeVore.
Here.
Kevin Bookout.
Here.
David Mears. Pam Carey.
Thank you.
Tim Dixon.
Here.
Scott Wilson.
Don't you help me out.
All right, has everyone gotten a chance to approve our meeting minutes from March 4th?
I would like to make a correction. It shows that I was here and it shows that I was absent. Am I ambidextrous?
We are very impressed, Mr. Gary.
I'll fix that.
That was a test.
Well, I'm glad I was here, that's all that counts.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second with that modification to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second with that modification. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, everyone should have the agenda set before you. Are there any corrections or amendments that we need to make to the agenda?
I move we keep the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I believe we have no public comments today. So we will start with old business. First on old business is application number 203, special use review request to amend off-site traffic signal plans at State Route 72 and Commercial Park Drive. The applicant is Gresham Smith on behalf of Racetrack Incorporated. Property owners are Crypto Properties LLC and Glenn Thompson trustee. The tax map 040, parcels 99, 100, 101, and 102, C4 interchange commercial.
Good afternoon, Taylor Forrester here on behalf of the applicant for this amendment to approve special use approval from, I believe, 2024 was the special use approval by City Council. Know a lot of y'all were on the planning commission when we obtained that initial approval. With that approval, there were off-site intersection improvements that we were proposing that were accepted. It mainly dealt with red light, construction of red light improvements at Commercial Park Boulevard. At that time, it was approved at a multi-split signal configuration. Following that approval, ran into issues with being able to get permitting, even though we met with TDOT a couple times. Regarding that design, it was later determined that based on that design, it would alter the Weigel's gas station on the north side of Highway 72. It would alter their access movements, and they would require consent from Weigel's, which we were unable to obtain. So then we went back to the drawing board, and as you may recall, we were here in November with a new proposed off-site improvements dealing with the red light construction configuration down from a multi-light to a single light. There were concerns raised by the property owners on the north side about cross traffic, cross access, people cutting through private property to gain access to the light or to have a full movement turn. Taking on those comments, we went back to the drawing board, meeting multiple times with city staff, TDOT, and these property owners to try to address concerns, try to come up with a design that would work for everybody. These meetings resulted in multiple modifications to these off-site improvements. This has not been a rushed process. There has been significant study, analysis, engineering, and collaboration in designing the proposed off-site improvements that we have before you today. These various design modifications are the result of the proposed off-site improvements that we present to you today. We submit that this is a positive improvement to this stretch of this commercial corridor from the existing level of service or existing standards that are there today, that what we're proposing with these off-site improvements does add a benefit to the safety, to the traffic pattern movements of this area of this corridor. As for the, if I could have Brandon, you can, Daniel, can you come up here? Just to help kind of point to what we're showing here on this, with these improvements. So we've got an existing median kind of in front of the Exxon property. There's an open median, then converts as you're traveling westbound to a grass median and then a painted stripe median. That'll all be removed. And it'll be replaced with a turn lane. So the asphalted turn lane. The turn lane between the Exxon driveway and the Loudon driveway will be a non-dedicated turn lane, meaning not specific to right or left turns. The portion of the new turn lane that is west of the Loudon driveway to the proposed lighted intersection at Commercial Park, Highway 72 Weigel's, that'll be a dedicated left turn lane. The existing turn lane on Highway 72 on the west side of Commercial Park Boulevard Weigel's, that is like an open, continuous, non-dedicated turn lane. That'll be dedicated to a left turn lane. we submit that this proposal, addresses these cross-traffic concerns. The proposal, addresses those concerns dealing with traffic cutting through, trying to access different turn movements, maybe a red light. The proposed improvements before you today maintains everyone's access right and traffic rights and movements as they exist today. Weigels continues, although we've gone through these multiple modifications, it's our understanding that Weigels continues to have concern about cross-traffic and stacking of traffic with a red light at their primary driveway. We've got a traffic, is this the traffic rendering here? Is this it? Okay, so from the traffic study and analysis, the traffic rendering that is before you reflects the amount of stacking that could occur at the 95th percentile. So that is out of a 24-hour period, that is a 15-minute window that assumes the highest concentration of traffic, meaning the worst possible scenario. As you'll see on the rendering, it reflects that in this 15-minute window, there would be potentially 2 vehicles at the red light at the Weigels primary driveway, 4 vehicles at the Loudon driveway, and 1 vehicle at the primary driveway of the Exxon property. Again, this improves the overall existing level of service. So with access routes roads, you have level of service rating from A being the highest down to F being the lowest. The current grade at Commercial Park for cars trying to access Highway 72 from Commercial Park is graded currently at an E. These proposed off-site improvements improves that grade rating to a level C. The Weigels driveway currently is currently graded as a level D for cars leaving Weigels trying to make a left on Highway 72. These proposed improvements would raise that level of grade from a D to a C. It's my understanding, and talking with traffic engineers, that your level of service that you try to get is between an A and a C. Anything below that is considered, maybe a failing grade. The existing delays that exist there today will be improved with these off-site proposed improvements, meaning it'll decrease the existing lengths of delay experienced by vehicles, again, trying to exit Weigels to make a left, and vehicles trying to exit Commercial Park onto Highway 72. So we ask that you support the proposed amendment to the approved special use, which again is just this off-site condition. It's not the type of use going on this property. It's exclusively deals with the proposed amendment from the multi-light that was approved to this configuration. I believe it satisfies the standards under the ordinance to be approved, and again, ask for your support. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Clark, Real Estate Director for Weigels Incorporated. Obviously, we've been very involved in looking at this site. We came to you guys previously and spoke about our concerns with the red light and the impact it would have on our existing convenience store. And I will say we've met with Racetrack and city staff, and we've tried to work through some things. We've even gone to the expense of hiring our own traffic engineer to review the site and some things that we were concerned about. I will say I do not feel like our queue and our actual exit there has been evaluated to the length that it needs to be evaluated. For one instance, it says it's 100 feet long, but we measured it, it's only 72 feet long. We have that it could be queued up into our site as much as 150 at your high peak hours of like 5 o'clock. So there is some concerns for us with the queue. But we do have an offer that we have made previously, and I'm gonna pass this letter out to city staff. Mr. Weigel is interested in not only our convenience store, but as most of you know, we have our commissary in your industrial park. And so we're concerned about Highway 72 in general, as a corridor. As a corridor as a whole. So what we are proposing and what we have offered to do is to help fund a corridor study that looks at more than just the racetrack Waggles intersection at this point, but looks at the corridor as a whole, because we feel like it will impact the industrial park. If this traffic signal is granted here, it does not seem likely that they will grant one at the industrial park, which impacts your investment and our investment in our commissary. So we are asking that this not be looked at in a short-sighted view for one development, but in a long-term view, and we are willing to help fund that. Any questions?
I asked him something.
Thank you.
So is this a new offer effective today, or is this something that was made weeks ago? I'm just trying to understand the timing.
We made the offer in the last meeting that we had, but we just wanted to make it official with a letter that, you know.
Last meeting with city officials or last?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but
I think we've
first
talked to
time here.
city officials a couple of times verbally about doing
But
that.
this is the first time for here, right? That's
Yes.
what our views.
For your review, and I think, yeah, as they're stating, this is something that we've discussed in some meetings with the applicant too. Trying to come to some compromise, essentially.
Can I ask a few questions? Everybody else may totally get this, but I want to just clarify the direction that some of these exits can turn, if I may. So this is signaled, so it can go, you can come any direction here, I would assume. Here, is this a right turn only, or can you cross this and go left?
Good question.
I believe that the applicant's intent is for it to be left and right.
So this, so what is here?
That's a lot.
That's Waggles, okay. So is this right and left, or is this only right turn?
Yeah, well, what Taylor was saying is the driveways for Exxon and Loudon will remain the same access that they have today. So the median there is open, and so they can continue to make that turn, because that was the concern that Wycliffe brought up last time. When we presented to Planning Commission, they were concerned across traffic. This plan was submitted to TDOT, it was approved by TDOT. They thought it was the best solution to eliminate the cross traffic and keep their driveways separate. So given the majority of the day, traffic is not, stacking is a non-issue, those turns are safe to make. But during those peak hours, you have what you see there is your snapshot of cars. The vast majority, shown in the traffic study, of cars leaving in and out and are turning right. A lot of those are actually coming from Waggles. They go to the in and out driveway to turn right to get back to the interstate. So that's where you see those 4 cars, is the majority of them just ready to turn right.
Okay. But this will not be blocked in any way, it will allow a left-hand turn.
Correct. That is an extended left turn lane. Waggles does not have that today. There is no protected left turn lane to get into Waggles, nor is there a protected left turn to get into and Loudon or Exxon. So we're basically extending the bi-directional left turn lane that continues plan west on that page right there, technically east. We're just continuing that bi-directional left.
And from here, is this a right only, or is this also?
There's a median break there today and it'll remain, so they could make a left.
Okay, so. Okay. Thank you.
You stated, both of those, not the white, the one in, the access were, going into Whitehall's, but the other two, are considered open by TDOT, even though, I know from our discussions last time, you have painted lines to indicate the one coming down from, the end of Loudon, that you can't cross it. And I've asked the question of the city, and they tell me historically, they can't get a firm answer from TDOT.
Correct.
So you have, when you had this meeting with TDOT that said that would be allowable, were representatives from Weigel's also there as well?
No, this is a racetrack application. Weigel was not there. We met with Weigel to address their concerns on traffic,
Yeah,
not.
I understand. I'm trying to understand all things. And the other complication to me is what enhanced this concern more to me is Monday of this week is my day to get sausage biscuits from McDonald's. And when I was driving into McDonald's, there were two cars stacked coming down from the hotel. I've seen traffic there before, but not two at a time. So both of them, when it got clear, decided to go ahead and cross and make a left-hand turn. One of them easily made it and the other one had to stop. And if you look at even your drawing, look at how much that distance starts narrowing down. The car that was there, I know they use 25 foot, but the cars are probably 5 foot shorter than that, had to overhang slightly in the lane because of the narrowness there. Is that distance going to change to allow a car to be in that middle area? If they can't make it, if they couldn't make a left-hand turn off? I mean, I've always considered that a dangerous type thing and had considered it until more recently that was blocked.
You're correct. Today it is more dangerous with the signal. It slows down that traffic. It is a controlled traffic measure and it makes it safer and improves that section.
One thing we did want to note with this scaling, our discussion about the number of vehicles, these aren't scaled to what a standard traffic analysis would be. So what's shown with the rectangles is 25-foot long blocks for passenger vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
The ones shown are at a different scale. So I just wanted to note that. So this represents the actual numbers of vehicles that they're referencing for.
Also, we're dealing, again, with that same road. It gives me more problem than anything else. I know this panel had been, there's two new members that never have heard you all present. I'll throw that out too. But in past discussions, we were concerned about property owners everywhere. And but one of the things that kept haunting us is coming back to, that's a private road from the hotel. It's not a public road. I don't know what that means in terms of right-of-way or access. I assume that Weigel's, when they got permission to tap onto that private road and that Exxon did the same thing. And the other hotel, La Quinta, also makes use of it for part of its traffic, but it has a public road on the other side. So traffic from it goes both ways. Were any of those other property owners, have they voiced their opinions?
Some of the hotel owners were concerned about pulling traffic through the easements that you're talking about. It's kind of a moth to the flame, just kind of pulling vehicles through Weigel's to the city.
Did they express any concern about not being able to cross the median?
There was some concern about reciprocal easements. You know, right now, I think, as you're illustrating, adjoining properties have the right to access the shared drive, but I don't know that it goes, that they have access onto Weigel's property.
Yeah. Those are just information that none of us have been able to get a feel for, that maybe makes this.
Yeah, the feedback from the neighbors, Weigel's and Loudon, who attended the meeting, is they did want to lose the existing access they had today. So that's where this solution approved by TDOT. but
No, I
changed.
understand what y'all,
It was actually.
I'll give you that.
your plan.
Not allowed, not that,
So this is not, doesn't have anything to do with the, plan that you submitted that was approved. This is just, addressing the road access, issue to modify that one part of the plan or not modify it. Is that correct? The one that was approved was the two traffic signalization.
We could show you a comparison of what was previously approved.
No, I know it was approved, but in other words, we're not talking about, the layout or anything, the site plan.
Nothing on the site has changed. It's just the off-site improvements in the right of way.
Okay. In all those other discussions, though, there was another thing that was mentioned, that you all were also willing to commit in writing to the city to, at the time to do a traffic light at the interstate, that you all would contribute up to $600,000. I think that was a number to help support that.
The MOU with TDOT is when the signal becomes warranted at the ramp, we would split the cost with TDOT.
Okay, you'd split the cost, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so that,
And maybe 600.
yeah, it's whatever it happens to be.
There was no cap, it was just.
Okay, so.
And I forgot to mention that, that's still
So that's,
agreeable.
that was still part of the deal.
It's part of what's being proposed today, and I think you can reference the letter that was submitted, that, I believe some of that, is available in your packet. But it just lists what's changed since last time, just as you described earlier, that, the left turning ability from shared access, the opening at Exxon and this, MOU.
And I asked those questions because, like I said, we have two new members that didn't have a clue on those things.
And you're exactly right on seeing the stacking and you got the median, then you got the painted median, which I think is intended to represent not to make a left turn from that in Loudon driveway, but it happens. And, kind of what this proposal does is, what you have today is pretty dangerous. You've got cars that are hanging out. So there's plenty of right of way to expand the pavement. So this adds a dedicated lane to where cars can make that left that they're already making. It just makes it safer. It clearly dedicates a lane versus, am I in an area, where's the strike median underneath my vehicle? Am I hanging out in back? Am I too far out front?
So the lane coming from the interstate will be three lanes from the exit from the Exxon station.
Yes,
From the exit to
is that the west side?
the left side of the, so that will be a 3-lane road there leading down to the traffic light. Is there we see drawings for the stacking distance of cars coming immediately out of these other businesses. Does that have a stacking quota to it from the light to the road leading from the hotels, and again, further back to the one leading from Exxon?
Hi, I'm Addie Kirkham. I'm the traffic engineer that worked on this project. I think I can answer your question. So those are looking at, several hundred feet, when you add a signal onto,
I measured them all off,
Yeah.
but I know, but I don't have the ratio of car length to feet, so there's more feet from a proposed
Right,
traffic
it
light.
should not back up all the way to the interstate,
Mhm.
is what the intention is.
Right.
At that point, it would be a problem, but, we're not seeing those issues with the signal here.
And it has the factored in growth rate of 5.9%.
Right, yeah, it has we looked at 5 years in the future with, we increased the growth rate, from the last time we came, just to, it's like you said, Loudon has had a lot of growth, especially in this area. I wanted to make sure that was included, especially if we're looking at something like a traffic signal.
You had mentioned danger, that the exit at Weigels is incredibly dangerous. It's not even an intersection, but egress onto 72. It's a combination of hand signals or, Morse code with your headlights about who goes next, and no one's looking at cross traffic. So, in my opinion, the light there does solve a singular problem. Does Weigels have an option that is more suitable to what they're thinking regarding the danger issue and the access? Because I know we have this proposal, which is more of a long-term proposal on trying to come up with a study for that whole entire interstate area. But has there been another option that you guys have put on the table during these previous meetings that's more suitable to you guys?
Yes, we have discussed with Mr. Hogan and with TDOT the idea of this corridor study, which would look at all the way from the industrial park over to the exit ramps and beyond. We had at one point in time looked at going on the other side of the exit, and so we had done some traffic studies at that point too, and that didn't work because of some traffic issues that we saw in the traffic study. So I do think the whole corridor has some issues. So we sat down with them and talked about the idea of adding a lane, a turning lane, all the way from the lot at the ramp, at the industrial, or the interstate ramp coming up, all the way to the industrial park, and controlling some traffic and movement through there with the lighting to stop traffic, to allow those turning movements to happen without oncoming traffic. So that is the solution that we've talked about. Now, that being said, that's why I think a full corridor study needs to be looked at, because there's a lot of vacant land past the industrial park. There's a lot of your industrial park that hasn't been developed yet. And so we need to look at what a full build out might look like and make it work for you for 20, 30 years, not just the next 5.
So were you talking about a concrete median all the way up to the industrial park where they made a
It would
U-turn to
be
come to
a
you?
suicide lane is what we talked about, what I call a suicide lane, a turning lane.
Mhm.
It would be consistent turning movement with a light on this end that would stop traffic at the industrial park and stop traffic at the interstate ramp to allow any turning movements to happen, and then traffic would flow back again.
Does that solve our current issue here? I mean, development on the James Ridge area and that whole area of town is growing as well. So we have a lot of traffic coming to the McDonald's stop sign to come to your establishment, right? Why is this popular? Like, we know this, right? So they want to come to you and they have to cross with no light. So forcing them to go out to the industrial park is I guess, based on option of the person. And a lot of people use that lane or that road that comes around McDonald's and decides to just kind of, it's like a wing and a prayer, like let's hope we make it to cross over to the Weigels parking lot. Without a traffic light there, I don't think we solve any danger issues for,
I do think it needs more study. That's why we're saying we need to look at the corridor as a whole. And if it comes back, hey, this is the solution and what's best for Loudon, what's best for the industrial park, what's best for racetrack and Weigels, this is the best we could come up with, we'll live with that, and we'll, we'll be grateful, hey, we've got a safe way to come in and out, because that's a priority for us too. But if it's not the best way for 20 years, if it's short-sighted to one development, then that does make me concerned on how it impacts us not only in our store, but at our commissary, which, we've just completed and got going, and we look to building in the future additional
I guess
jobs and that kind of thing there.
I just get concerned that we've put this plan off for quite some time now, and yet we don't have any direct input from Weigels saying, hey, listen, we're not good with that plan, but here's the plan that we think is more sufficient for the city and for the specific location. So, how long do we delay this before they're able to move forward with their project?
I think we've submitted our idea to them, which was not agreeable to them, and I think they can probably speak to that. So I think you're at a conflict of what we think is best and what they think is best is not.
Yeah.
They are coming in, we are existing here, so, and what I'm suggesting is much more than a traffic study for a site development. It is a corridor study that looks at the entire thing. And
I disagree with that.
we have agreed, back months ago, I wanna say in like September, I got the first MOU from the city, at the potential of us, going in a third on the lot in the industrial park. So we have agreed to do that as well. So, I mean, we have an investment here and we love Loudon and we're trying to do what's best for us and the city as a whole.
We love you guys too.
I think both Weigels and Racetrack have come up with some good ideas. I'll make one other comment. I did myself on an amateur basis. We're in much better shape on this side of the interstate than the others. We got 245 more feet between the proposed traffic light at the interstate exit on this side and the traffic light that's proposed at Whitehall's. On the other side, it's much closer together for those two traffic lights, and you can see how it's already creating some issues on that side of the interstate. So I'm not surprised that your all study on that side showed it was a headache. So it's, I know we need to focus on this plan that's been presented for the consideration for today's meeting.
So, just some points from staff, and we have some transportation engineers here too. I think that some of the issues brought up by commissioners at the last meeting have been addressed through some of the changes to the center turning lane and working on that section. We've been advised for permissions from Weigels because of the impact to private property. While some of this information is correct, there's other engineering judgment that would tell you that some of the modeling may not capture how much traffic would queue into that private parking lot. Maybe you could speak to some of that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Okay, and I'm Andrew Sonner with WSP. We've been working as a third-party reviewer for them on this project. And also Ben Robinson is remote. He's our traffic lead for the southeastern United States, and he's on remote. So I guess, our thought is that, that the study is technically correct. We don't disagree with what they say, but also you have to take into consideration driver behavior, and also we have some concern with the 60-second cycle length that's shown, because if you look at the corridor as a whole and you're looking at a 90-second cycle length elsewhere, then you've got to have that same cycle length there, which means you're going to have more time and potentially more queuing. Also, the service road that serves the hotel and others is, you have that ability to pass through, as everyone knows, to pass through the Weigels to go to that signal. And driver behavior may say, hey, we've got 4 cars stacked there, then they're going to start going through Weigels, as they cut through and potentially affect them, which, I believe it's best for the city's interest to make sure they're protected and that is considered. And Ben, I don't know if you want to say anything else.
No, Andrew, I think you clearly, stated that the study justified what it needed to justify. We have to look at this more holistically. With the study, they're talking about running a 60-second cycle length, and that's just the bare minimum to actually operate the intersection. So especially since the other intersection is running a 90-second cycle, we would have to also look at running this intersection in a 90-second cycle. And the downfall of that is if one car pulls up and the light had just changed, then that car is gonna wait a while and more cars are gonna come and stack it up. So I do agree with looking at doing a corridor study for the whole area, so that way the city of Loudon gets the best solution for everybody that's involved with this.
I guess if I could respond to some of the points, in dealing with the corridor study, you're exactly right. It's a future study that it takes years to conduct the study. So then the study produces results and recommendations, and then you gotta figure out, all right, where's the money come from to pay for all this, implementing all these recommendations. Again, you're looking years down the road. This site, whether it's Racetrack that developed it or another commercial developer puts in a strip center, shopping center, or any other type of permitted commercial use in that zone by right, you're back to the same situation that you're currently in, but made it worse, in the sense that now you have more traffic on something that's already failing. Considering the traffic, the safety, and the dangers, that just adding more of these turns that are already so problematic. So, it's our position, you can't wait. Yeah, in a dream world, you can have every corridor study and have the money up front ready to fund it, and you tell development to wait, but that doesn't happen. That's not practical. I mean, development, if it's a permitted use by right, development isn't necessarily having to seek these permissions. And so then you're just adding more traffic to a situation that's already bad and failing. A lighted, controlled intersection is an improvement in any situation. It improves safety, it improves access, turning movements, and it's better as a whole.
A lighted intersection that's done correctly is safe. Corridor study is not going to take years. Corridor study is going to take months. And looking at the corridor study not only helps that development, it also helps the city. Looking at the current design that you guys is proposing, with the signal, there are also some safety concerns with your proposed recommended signal. So therefore, there would need to be some modification to the existing signal layout for the intersection itself to be safe for the traveling motorists. The study would allow the traveling motorists that's in the area as a whole to benefit from the new development, any other development that comes along the corridor. So just looking at a problem, just that one problem, and not looking at it holistically creates additional problems that someone would have to solve later on.
Well, I don't know how long Ben's been involved, but as many of you who were on Planning Commission, our very first meeting, we came here over 2 years ago, corridor studies were discussed, and setting up and moving forward with the corridor study. That's 2 years ago, so it does take years.
Well, we've also hired some new staff. This process started in the absence of the city manager. So there were some efficiencies that weren't found due to staffing levels. We're also trying to overcome that with increasing budgets for consultants that are on this call today, that are helping staff manage more long-term planning for you. I feel that we can add money to capital planning and be more long-term minded with this intersection. I think that a corridor study would do that for us. rather than being focused on a singular project. And we've arrived at a previous approval that was a compromise of what staff understood in meetings with TDOT before the application, that a signal at the interchange, the interstate, and one at Center Park Drive would be a better corridor planning practice, where you would bookend this area and stop everybody on either end and create gaps for left turns. So the previous plan would have provided for more queuing in an existing access road, with a less focus of a fourth leg, where that fourth leg could bring adjacent property traffic onto private property. So that's been the concern of staff and our consultants.
When this project started, the scope of the study was dictated by TDOT and approved by TDOT, and since then, we've expanded the scope from comments from staff and adding more driveways to the study. And that's why, as far as future planning, we have that agreement with TDOT to fund the signal at the ramp. And so that's future planning. This isn't just a short snapshot of, we just want to get something done in commercial park. We are looking to the future and offering real dollars to help improve the corridor. So 2 signals funded by this approval, we feel like we've done the due diligence needed for the last 2 years.
Ma'am, do you have another comment?
Just one comment. City of Greenville, we have a site that we've been looking at there. They did a corridor study. They identified the need for a traffic signal. So when we come in and submitted our stop plan, the development across the street had already done their portion of the improvement to the traffic signal, and we are finishing it out with the completion of our improvements. So it identifies it to developers immediately what they have to do to keep the traffic flowing in the best way for the community. But it also helps me as a developer, because I don't have to come in and pay for a traffic study or try to negotiate stuff out with TDOT and the city and figure it out. You all already have it figured out, and you just tell me what my portion of that is.
Are there any other staff comments at all on this?
I do have a question. The gentleman that was on the speakerphone, he said that signalization, maybe I heard him wrong, the signalization as proposed has some deficiencies. What does that mean?
Ben, you want to answer to that? What, I think it's really more about the cycle length and what would really, if you coordinate that corridor, it would be at a longer cycle length.
No, well, I understood he was just focusing on the signaling.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Just looking at the signal itself, look like we might have to have some protected left turns, movements only. Look like we're gonna have to have a no U-turn sign to try to, straighten things up. And again, I'm just looking at the sketch that was provided. So those are some things, because the westbound left turn, or either one left turn, got a truck in it. I think the truck is gonna blind them from seeing a car come about. So we got to look at possibly having protected left turns there. And then we possibly want to do no U-turns, because we don't want them to possibly make a U-turn and a car gets hit by the right turn or whatever as well. So there are some things that we would, again, I'm just looking at the sketch, just looking at the sketch and not a true signal design. There are some things that may need to be improved to make the signal safer, excuse me.
I'll jump in here. Cameron Rose, Gresham Smith, we're doing the signal design. We did design for the split phase, like that was completely done out. This is just for visualization. There's no we haven't got down in the weeds as far as, you know, where no
Okay.
turns are, what the cycle links are gonna be, stuff like that.
Okay,
When we do that, we can sync those cycle links with the ones on
okay,
the interstate, so that coordination happens.
okay, yeah, thank you, that would be good. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking at the sketch and if you got a design, then the design would be a lot different than sketch, just looking at the sketch.
I think, Ben, there was some points about the signal timing, related to, Commercial Park Drive, where, maybe it was 9.6 seconds allowed, for one phase. Could you speak to that, of how many trucks would pass? And maybe likewise on the other side of the intersection that you'd express some concerns about how much traffic would clear, during a cycle from Commercial Park and Michaels.
9.6 seconds was for the protected left turns in, is that what you're talking about, the westbound truck left in?
Yes, and that's in sheet 119 of the PDF, Ben.
That's for the left turn phase.
And that 9 seconds that you have in the synchro, that 9 seconds also includes yellow and all red, which would be 4.5, so you wouldn't actually get 9.6 seconds of green.
Right, we're not expecting a high amount of trucks coming from that direction, so it just.
I think
Yeah,
the
but
city
if you get one 18-wheeler that's trying to do that, then he's not gonna make it.
And you know, those are theoretical at this point, you know, once we get the approval, then we'll move on to technical signal design.
Okay.
I have one last
Or
question.
we can make small adjustments as needed.
When we did the approval of the site that became unworkable.
Yeah, and let's differentiate that. This is a new application,
No,
so
I
this
understand.
application has been
But we
in
did,
process for a month or so.
we did on that site, put in other contingencies, when it was approved. And I think those contingencies that, these, fine tuning of, signalization and stuff, it's not even in our realm to be able to know what that means, unless we're educated. And y'all have done a good job of trying to educate it, but isn't that in the additional requirements if this was approved? It also has to go and meet those type standards for TDOT.
It does, and I think, just to kind of clear some of the, you know, we're talking about 9.6 seconds and other things. The only thing that we're trying to do is inform your decision, and I think that, to that point here, is just that, it made clear one truck for left turning movement, for what's proposed. We know we have a trucking company that's on the same road that would contribute to that number. There's additional development that could be happening in the back. We understand that things can change for that, but I think that there's conflicting needs. So on one side, we have a road that can queue up and stack trucks. On the other side, we have a private business that can stack 1 or 2 vehicles. And as these cycle links change to accommodate all these different needs, that likely these two sides of the intersection can become problematic. And schematically, how this is set up can be problematic.
And I guess our concern for the city is if those vehicles stack into Weigels and it negatively affects Weigels, you know, there is liability or risk there for the city.
Well, what about why isn't there any mention about impacting Exxon? You got to exit on the same road.
Well, but you're installing a signal here and you've got a easement that serves public traffic on the other side.
But isn't that the point on the drawing where you have your stacking? going up that road. I'm saying it's impacted from both sides. I mean, but there's two businesses that might be.
But we're just, I guess, specifically looking at this intersection.
Well,
Yeah.
we were interested in understanding the impacts everywhere. And I think, like I said before, the groups that are present today have made intelligent presentations.
So if you would do a corridor study, do you have a feel for the timing on that? I'm hearing years, I'm hearing months,
Yeah.
I don't have knowledge on that.
You know, part of what we proposed during the application process is to go with what was recommended to us is for signal spacing. With or without a corridor study, one at the interstate, one at Center Park Drive. That, as we understand, doesn't serve the applicant's need. So we try to come up with a compromise that wouldn't impair use, but impairs little, mitigate impact, reduce impact as much as possible. The timeline of this study can be advertised this spring, and I think it is, you know, on the order of months. But the advice here would be to not be necessarily dependent upon development investment. Rather weigh that against city investment and the long-term health of the corridor.
To me, part of our responsibility is to take a long-term view. But on the other hand, I also am anxious to see racetrack here. I mean, so that's the balance. But if we do it wrong, it's not easy to go back and fix it. If we put a signal in the wrong place, and long-term for the overall corridor, that's not the best thing. To try to turn that around would be very challenging. Is my assessment accurate, do you think?
Yeah, I think, in this commission, you've offered, with the previous application, there was some push to route traffic out of this proposed development down Commercial Park to Center Park.
Right.
And so we've looked at that. There's been a few iterations. There's been an approved plan. And so trying to find one that doesn't, another option for those that weren't accepted before is what we're trying to do here.
Sure.
So our traffic engineer did look at that scenario where if all trucks were to turn right on Commercial Park and go to Center Park, it would exacerbate the stacking issue that's already at Weigels. If they don't have a protected light for that protected movement, you're having free flow traffic with no light at Commercial Park. Every truck or vehicle that leaves Center Park is turning left to go back to the interstate, crossing through Weigels, so you're increasing the traffic that's already there today, so that level of service D at their intersection would get worse. And our proposed solution makes it better at both Commercial Park and Weigels, as well as the neighbors.
But if you had light at Center Park, and I don't have knowledge, so this is from somebody that's learning here, but if you had light there, you had light at the interstate, and they were timed properly, as that signal changed, that would give some time for people to exit Weigels or wherever in between.
Right, so our concern is coming in like where this racetrack property is built, that without a light at this intersection, that any development that comes in or tries to come in at this corner is gonna come up with the same problem. Where, so if you were concerned about cars leaving Weigels or coming from the McDonald's and driving all the way across the street, any development where a racetrack is looking at is gonna run across that same problem. So this is something where we can go ahead and address that now to let development continue along the corridor while continuing to look at, what else we might need to do in the future. in order to make the entire corridor operate safely.
Is there a staff recommendation? I mean, there's a lot of variables here, and I agree with your statement, you know, it's, when I pull out of Weigels and I have to go left, you know, I say an extra prayer.
Yeah.
It's just because today it's very challenging.
I just would like to remind the council or the commission, that this is, per the ordinance, will go to city council, for, final approval. So this body is only making a recommendation to city council.
Understood that, thank you.
And this is for the, special use review, which I think is in your notes, so you're looking, to make a recommendation on that basis.
I don't like to call on the city manager, but I know he's a long-range thinker too. Because we're not city council, we don't know what they're thinking or what the city manager's thinking is about supporting studies for long range. I would think that that would be a great idea.
It's in this fiscal year budget.
I would also ask, when can that be done? And the reason I do that, we have a good example right there in that general area. The long-range plan for old city councils years ago was to build parallel access roads all the way between the interstate and 72. They got started on the right-hand side, right where we now have the liquor store and the Kentucky Fried Chicken station. It was a great idea. On the other side, then you skipped all the land because there wasn't any funds in the city to build the additional strips, and you've got it in segments. And then down here on this side, we've got it right here in front of us. But it doesn't go all the way. That was really advanced plan. You know, that it doesn't always, the best plans, which I like long-range planning myself. I agreed to join this because I was promised we'd have a new urban growth plan study started within a year when I started. This month is my second year anniversary. And we've gone through those changes. We got a new city manager and everything. All those things take time. I'm not impatient, but I'm an old guy. I've seen these things drawn out. I think if the study's going to be done, it has to be one that's pursued right away and should have been already underway. I think it's a good idea. But at the same time, if I'm a person that comes in and this is what you have right now, and I'm going to base my plan on what exists now, then we want to make sure we don't mistreat additional capital investment that the city needs to be able to generate new revenue to grow. So it's a hard thing.
Is that a question to me?
The first part was.
The first part, and you don't even have to answer that because there's a lot of unknowns, but I do know you're a long-range planner and I appreciate that aspect, but you have to work for the people you work for.
I would just say, we did put corridor study into our capital plan this year. We have not got to execute that yet. Because of the mass amount of applications
applications and growth things that have been hitting us. We've added our city planner part of the way into this year, getting her up to speed and up to move and getting things going. Got a new public works director just added a few months ago. So a corridor study is in our plans, and I had hoped we'd have that done by the end of this fiscal year.
Mine's not intended as criticism, it's just a reality of life that I've seen.
I'm simply saying that we believed for a long time a corridor study, because what I'm the most concerned about is the citizens of Loudon that drive that road every day, more so than I've bought Diet Cokes at both of these places a whole lot. I stopped at Racetrack and Waggles and both of those. I support them both. I'm glad we have one in our community and one that will come. But I am the most concerned about our citizens that drive the road every day. And so, you know, we already believe, that's why it's in our capital plan, that a corridor study to know what we needed to do before we made action was important. We just haven't gotten there yet. But if you tell us that's what you want to see to get that done, that certainly make that even more important on our list of things to get done, if that answers your question. Long-range planning is my goal, and the safety and happiness of our, the fewer people I have call the mayor and complain about what's going on, the better I like it. And so we are attempting to make those plans and would like the chance to make sure our corridor is right. If that helps.
It helps, thank you.
Additional comments or questions? Alright, we do need to make a motion on this in order to move forward. Does anyone have one that they would like to put forward?
So I'll make a motion that we approve it as is. It's gonna have to go to city council anyway. I feel like there's a huge risk, and I don't see how we get out of not putting a traffic signal in the location where this diagram presents it to. I'm a firm believer in the long-term plan and the study. I just, I'm not a big fan of truck stops either, right? I'm not saying that we should move your project along as fast as possible, but you guys have decided to be here in Loudon. You've been approved to be here in Loudon, and I feel like we've already held you up, longer than I could expect most people to wait. So I make a motion that we approve it as is.
Speak up. I'm looking at you, Dennis.
I think we need to vote on it, so I'm gonna make a second so that we do proceed and we go yea or nay.
Okay, so we have a recommendation, for approval or to recommend to city council from Brendan and a second from Dennis. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Dennis Brennan,
No.
Clayton Pangle,
No.
Ken Henley is absent, Brandon DeBoer,
Yes.
Kevin Bookout,
No.
David Mears is absent, Ham Carey,
No.
Tim Dixon,
Yes.
Scott Wilson is absent, and Abigail Allshouse.
No.
We tried.
We need a motion.
Motion to approve fair. Is that how we support the motion?
Legally, do we need to do anything else on our end? No. Okay. Alright. We have another item of old business is application number 232. It's the zoning ordinance amendment update.
So this is, coming back to you from city council. We have explored the definitions and the use permissions for these two types of land uses. One is record service, the other is a record service storage yard. And it's been proposed that, I think your recommendation, we talked about an option as permitted use or a special exception, or the use on review, or special use review that we, for the previous application that you just deliberated on. Council's recommendation for this is for both of these uses to be processed as special exceptions by the Board of Zoning Appeals. If you had a chance to look through the packet, the conditions or the scope of the BZA's review of these uses is listed in there. Some items that they can impose conditions on, which would be screening, any needs that might be addressed for how the business accesses the right of way, those other things. That's particular to both the record service and the record service storage yard. The storage yard is expanded on a little bit. There's more rules associated with it that have been developed. And those are listed there. So basically, it would have its own design standards. So there would be some hard and fast rules, and then BZA, as BZA is allowed to operate, has discretionary power to address site conditions. So your staff would document in an application maybe that the topography requires some additional screening measure because the neighboring property can see right down into this business, something along those lines. It goes into what type of screening they can use. It could be fencing, some natural barrier like a berm, a grass berm, or trees, as long as they're evergreen. So they're not going to drop leaves in the wintertime, and so you can see it 3 months out of the year. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer any of those.
They can't accumulate water for mosquitoes.
Right.
And then, we're making sure that fire trucks can drive through the property, that they have to store the cars on stone or asphalt, they have to be on a hard surface, and that they can't store cars for a longer period of time unless they're for like police impound or some other reason why they're being held. They have a document that says they're being held for a longer period of time. So that's making sure that they're not being held for long-term storage. Those are one of the conditions also.
I think Commissioner DeBoer had expressed one last time about the distance. So the distance from residential is included in both of these definitions.
Yeah.
I had a question about the definition of a residential district. And the reason I have that are Tennessee National is a planned unit development. Is that considered residential? And the reason it comes into play, you might not have a residence within 300 feet, but if Tennessee National is considered residential as a whole, then one of the folks that had applied before is located in Mount Lock Bend. I don't know whether that's further or not from their property line. So.
I think that there's a couple mixed, there's planned development district, small planned development district, and, P1, civic and professional district, which allows R2. I think that the residential use in a district, at least I think our staff would interpret that.
Their master plan is residential.
Yeah.
Okay, so their master plan is their outer boundary. So you can't be within 300 feet of their boundary? That's my question. The other way I've seen these done has been sometimes cities or counties establish certain distance from a residence, but it's not necessarily the district line. So I didn't know whether, I think this is a wonderful redo of the whole thing. I think this shows a good bit of work. But I'm just asking the question of where you measure from.
Can I say something? Just as the PDD's related, when you read that section, and this is just my interpretation of reading it for many years now, is that there are different districts inside of that PDD, and they're clearly either residential or commercial. There's not much of a blending, there's only a couple of places. So if it was a residential use, I think it'd be clearly defined in the ordinance we have passed currently. We can clearly determine from the master plan and the ordinance that, yes, that is a residential use and the distance would need to apply because it is residential. I don't know if that helps, but that's my understanding of it.
It's fairly easy on a residential subdivision. You can go from the subdivision boundaries.
Right.
Sure.
Most PDDs have a layout, so you know what the use is inside of it.
Yeah, and we would require the layout, Lori's just stating that we would require to see that layout as you would with a master plan.
Which you're gonna see with one of our cases today.
That's
It's pulled out on there what their uses are, and the PDD requires that happens, and so we don't know if it's residential or commercial, and we'd be able to measure those distances inside of that PDD. Even if it's mixed, that means it's a mix of residential and commercial, which means it would have to be more than 300 feet away from that. Because it could potentially be residential, which means it'd have to be more than 300 feet away from this industrial wrecking surface. Conservative.
Again, because that's on the agenda here, some of those pods that we're considering have had change of use, an amphitheater as opposed to something that wasn't talked about in an amphitheater years ago. So that's another reason for asking the question. But I'll make a motion that we make a recommendation to the city that they incorporate this in the city requirements.
With no changes?
To me, no changes. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't have any changes. Yeah, I was just wanting to see how that issue would be handled.
So we have a motion and a second.
Did you make the second, Dennis?
So we do have a motion and a second, can I get a vote, please?
You want a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Dennis Brennan,
Yes.
Clayton Tangle,
Yes.
Tim Henley absent, Brandon DeVore,
Yes.
Kevin Bookout,
Yes.
Pam Terry,
Yes.
Tim Dixon,
Yes.
Scott Wilson's absent, and Abigail Allhouse.
Yes. Alright, we have 2 items of new business today. The first one is application number 221, a final plat review for the Rena Vista. The applicant is Ryan Lynch, land surveyor, property owner is Masana Investments LLC, tax map 040, parcel 84, R2 high density residential district.
I forgot to email you the staff report for this, so I handed it out. It was sitting in front of you, to give you information about this, so I apologize for, that I didn't send it out yet.
Drew Statton, PO Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee, 379. Please respect your request approval as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions. I would like to commend Mr. Hogan and his team. It's been a very interesting project with having to cross the gas line easement. I've probably pestered him more than anyone, so I apologize, but also appreciate him working with us. So thank you.
Do you wanna do a rundown about the subdivision?
Sure, yes ma'am. It's 32 single-family lots, single-family detached, single-family homes will be on these. They're all slab on grade. We're working through a couple of things, and I believe this is a conditional approval. Mr. Hogan can confirm, addressing a couple more minor comments, one more field change, some things like that. But we came here 2+ years ago probably, have fought with Kinder Morgan out of Houston to get their approval. I hope we work with the neighbors well and to work with our site contractor. So it's kind of where we're at today.
I think that last point is one that we'll be reconciling before certifying the plat. There's been coordination with the neighbor to change the drainage path for everything discharges from the site, to make sure that that's on property and to the property frontage and the right of way. And there was
In the, I think it's lots 13 and 14, we have some drainage easements that need to be addressed. And then along the south property line, there's still some drainage easements that need to be addressed, that we're just working through those comments with, just making sure that they're gonna be protected, so drainage ways in the future aren't disturbed. We're just working through some of those comments with everyone, but if there's nothing major, it's just line work on the plat that needs to be cleaned up.
Just a general question, with the pipeline, will lot 31, is it a buildable lot?
Yes, sir. I believe that would be able to fit, I want to say, a 2,200 square foot house. Yes, sir. Because these are somewhat wide, if you will, they're 75 foot.
Okay, so you'll still be able to get your setbacks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This-
we've noted on the plat as well that building permits would require any coordination from the utility owner, from the gas pipeline owner, prior to issuance.
Just was curious if we were gonna have a BZA item come up next month.
It's possible that we might have some distances with driveways and stuff that might come up because of the coordination with the utility. And, I have a concern about that as well with you, about that buildable lot. Sure, there's an envelope there where a building will fit, but there's other problems that could require a request for a variance, because of, the driveway location. And also possible grade issues with the percentage of the grade of the drive. I'm not sure about that detail yet. But the bottom line is once these are all lots of record, and they would submit for permitting, and we would review that at permit, review of the application. And we try to get that all right before we approve the permit.
The width of the lots there on Queener, that last section that we did across the street, those are 50s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure we weren't repeating.
No, this is the R2 subdivision, which has a 10-foot setback on the sides and 75-foot width on the lot width at the front setback line.
Thought I remembered that, but I just wanted to be clear.
So these are bigger lots.
Thank you.
And 12-foot setbacks if they're two-story.
Correct, yeah.
I wasn't here, and there's two other people that weren't here when you did this a little over 2 years ago. But I drive by this every day when I go to work. The only thing I've noticed that might be a change, but I want to ask it as a question, I've asked it earlier. Your initial layout, I think up by the road just had to be modified with additional fill dirt brought in. And so I assume that those lot lines have had to be adjusted, or setbacks have been adjusted because of some of that filling right in that area. And the old drawings, without me looking at the details, seem like this is generally the same layout as before, except for that area. Is that correct, or?
It's essentially the same, yes, sir. We didn't actually have to bring in any import. We were able to balance the side.
No, you used dirt on the other thing to build up over
Raw
the.
Peter Bay Paul, yes, sir.
Yeah, to build up over the
yes, sir.
pipeline. Yeah. Okay. So there's been mention by staff of several other adjustments that have to be made by staff before your final sign off on the drawing. I'll make a motion, we approve this, subject to those staff additions being.
There's staff comments that we're kind of mentioning. If they were to want to seek any approval before any of these final drainage improvements need to be made, we would require a bond for that. So just wanted to note that. So anything that's outstanding, if you were to approve this plat today before staff would certify it and sign it, if they didn't complete those items, we would ask a bond for a bond.
With those additions, I'd make a motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we've got a motion. Yes, ma'am. Okay. A motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Dennis Brennan,
Yes.
Clayton Pangle,
Yes.
Brendan DeVore,
Yes.
Kevin Bookout,
Yes.
and there's a absent, Ham Carey,
Yes.
Tim Dixon,
Yes.
Abigail Allshouse.
Yes.
I'll do it.
Thank you for your time, service.
The second item of new business that we have today is application number 243, amending the master plan to Tennessee National. The applicant Tyler Gross, owner Tennessee National LLC, tax map 23, parcel 1 and tax map 32, parcel 1 for the planned development district.
Hello, good afternoon. Tyler Gross with Large Design Solutions. And what you have before you today is a master plan amendment for Tennessee National. We're looking at several areas, updating on the master plan, a couple new areas, but then also revisions to some existing ones. Looking at 6 specific areas, mainly individual lots, pod 22, pod 13D, pod 31, pod 53, and again, the commercial district at the amphitheater and marina, and then I think it's pod 54 for future condos.
Stuff that's got big bubbles around it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of scrolling around as I zoom in. If there's anyone you wanna talk about or have questions about.
I'll just add that pod 22, the big one there, is what we're working on right now, and plan on moving forward with preliminary plat next, which hopefully in a few weeks we'll be sending that to you for review.
I had a hard time seeing it on advanced papers, but I think this is looks like the same drawing there. I think you asked for pod 22 along with the additional lots in another pod to total 114, and on the plot I didn't see 114, so where do you get your numbers for the total number of lots?
Yeah, so we actually did a late revision Friday, so I'm not sure what you were looking at previously, but this is the last one, so the 114 lots is in pod 22 alone.
Okay.
So, and then there's pod 13D down there to the left.
Yeah,
which
I can
has
see it now on the screen.
23.
But it wasn't in our packet, it was something less than that.
Sure, yeah, it used to be 85 or 84.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a summary of all that in the bottom right-hand corner. About what we're adding.
There was another one I had a question on, let me see if I can find it. It was, I think probably in the same vicinity as pod 22, because it was a little bit different in shape. Not numbers, but since you've had it updated, thank you that we didn't see. I don't have a question anymore.
We've been
Where's
having,
pod 31? I'm trying to, I can't find that.
On the left.
I can't see it.
Yeah, right where that cursor is.
Okay. Okay, so there is an access gate on that rear entrance.
Yeah, if you could speak to that, we
Yeah.
had some questions about that last time, thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, so we had previous discussions about access and where pod 31 is, and then also the condo area, that's where we recently added, or not recently, a couple months ago, added the secondary access by the maintenance shed. So that'll have a gate on it, which will gate off the whole community. Of course, you have the front access gate, and then the other area is the Marina District on the top right-hand corner. Yeah, it's not in green there, but that's what they're currently working on. And so there is a gate for the community. If you go to the left, see rear entrance gate to the left, or move your cursor to the left, other way, right there where your hand is. So that is the rear entrance gate for the development. The Marina District will have its own gate. So it'll have its own access gate, that development will be secured. But the reason we did it that way is because that allows Corporate Park Drive and the new Tennessee National Marina Way, which they're currently building, it'll allow public access to the restaurant, the amphitheater, and the commercial district right there in the center of the marina.
Okay. Makes sense.
Tyler mentioned that he's getting ready to submit that next pod for preliminary plat approval. We've been, having conversations, because obviously you guys were seeing that we are getting a lot of variances for driveway slopes, that they're taking more review of
Yeah.
finished floor elevations and driveway slopes as they're working on the designs of the roadways in Tennessee National, to take those more into consideration to try and alleviate having to bring as many driveways for variances in front of planning commission, or Board of Zoning Appeals. So we just wanted to let you guys know, because you guys had talked about us having that conversation with them, so they are taking that under consideration.
To be helpful. Yeah, I mean, so the goal is we're designing these, we're looking at potential finished floors for each one of these lots and noting on the plans that, hey, this is your finished floor that's approved. If you want anything different than this, you gotta go get an appeal, a variance. So now, not every lot is gonna be able to be under the 10% or the 15% guideline. So there'll be some that'll be noted like, hey, this lot has to have a variance. But at least as they're selling them, the homeowners will know that. It won't be a surprise, and you'll have a flurry of them come in, so.
Good.
So with the preliminary plat, any variances you could apply for in the plat submittal? so they're not applying later, it's buildable.
Okay.
You would just, it would be in that application, you're applying for the variance. You would be approving a subdivision with variances in areas. So just be thoughtful, about where you would get, need to vary from that slope, 10% slope.
So the homeowners wouldn't have to come back at a later time, it would already be approved?
I think that's the best.
Sure.
Best route to go, and you can for preliminary plat, anything that varies from the subdivision regulations, if all that's located in there, we could seek variance from that. If it's a variance that's solely in the zoning ordinance, then it would be an actual BZA variance. So we can double check those things.
And it's only a variance if it's noted on the plat.
Right.
So it's very important that you note it on the plat.
And which lots they apply to.
Yeah, well, it's administrative, but we'll figure out the process, whether it's all in preliminary plat, or at that same meeting, we address any other variances in BZA.
Yeah, we'll continue to work with staff. I mean, it'll be difficult for us to show the actual driveways and, but
Understood.
maybe a table with notes of like, hey, this lot's FFE is X and it's a slope of it, something,
A range.
yeah.
So we're asked today just to vote on recommending amending the master plan.
Yes, sir.
And then the site plan come back later.
Yes, sir.
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Yeah.
For the things that were listed here.
I'll second.
Alright, we have a motion and a second to approve the amendment of the master plan. Can I please get a roll call vote?
Dennis Brennan,
Yes.
Clayton Tangle,
Yes.
Brendan DeBoer,
Yes.
Kevin Bookout,
Yes.
Pam Carey,
Yes.
Tim Dixon,
Yes.
Abigail Allhouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any other committee reports, staff reports, or reminders? Okay. I can get a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
In a second,
Second.
all those in favor? Thank you. Alright, I would now like to call to order at 2:04 the Board of Zoning Appeals. Can I please get roll call?
Abigail Allhouse.
Here.
Dennis Brennan,
Here.
Clayton Tangle,
Here.
Tim Henley, Brendan DeBoer.
Here.
Kevin Bookout.
Here.
David Mears, Pam Carey,
Here.
Tim Dixon.
Here.
And Scott Wilson.
Thank you. Has everyone gotten to look over the meeting minutes from February 4th? Are there any amendments that need to be made to that?
Make a motion for approval.
A second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Perfect. All right, the agenda is before you. Are there any modifications that need to be made to it?
Make a motion, we accept the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the agenda. All those in favor? All those opposed? We have no public comments today. We have no old business. We have one item of new business. The application number 240 for 218 Quiet River Lane. The variance request, applicant is requesting a deviation from section 14.413.6A, accessory buildings prohibited in the side yard. The applicant and property owners, James and Jamie Narduli, tax map 040D, group D, parcel 3 for single family residential district. Is someone here for that application?
She's on, or he's on Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
do you want to unmute yourself and make your presentation about your need for the variance?
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm having a really hard time hearing you guys, but I have captions on, so hopefully I'll catch everything. I'm Jamie Narduli. My husband Jim Narduli is here as well. And yes, we are looking to build a detached garage on the side of our home. Our lot, where the house on the site plan you see is relatively flat. And also to the side where the driveway and detached goes, it's also kind of flat. Behind the house, our house is going to go all the way back to the end of the flat area, and then it drops to kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ravine.
A ravine, yeah. It kind of drops into a ravine and then immediately goes up a hill, and there's, of course, all trees, which we want to maintain. So we're unable to put that garage behind the house. We want it on the side with the shared driveway. We have a couple of vehicles, a pleasure vehicle, and then we also have 2 daughters with 2 vehicles. So we have like 5 cars, and we want to be able to house those in the garage and not on the street or in the driveway. And so that is why we're asking for the variance.
I drove this property just out of curiosity, and it's on my way home, so. But, yeah, I don't see a better option. I mean, I hate to go and cut down trees and reshape all the property to meet the requirement, but, so, to me, there is some logic in the request. How do you all see it?
You said something, but, and I didn't hear your last sentence. You said.
That's too long ago, I don't know.
Come on, say it again.
I think, go ahead.
I understood the need. I did have a couple of questions. And I don't know whether it's because of slope or what, but your driveway comes in at an angle and not perpendicular to the road. And I didn't know whether there's a reason that it's angular.
Yes, it is due to the slope. We were trying to keep it under the required 10%. It won't be quite that angle. It's going to be more of a curve going up. The surveyor kind of drove it very straight, but it's going to approach, because the way this works is when you enter Quiet River and you approach our house, it goes downhill to a cul-de-sac at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And so as you're going down, the property drops dramatically. And so to keep that under the 10%, we are bringing the driveway up instead of more towards that where you're rounding the curve where it drops.
That makes sense. I understood about the back part of your property sloping back up and why you couldn't build back there. I did wonder about the driveway angle, so that was really my only question.
They have to get the variance for them to be allowed to have this accessory structure in this side of their property. The other thing to mention is they're not allowed to make this into an accessory dwelling unit. To note that if you do allow them to have this variance, they cannot allow, it has to remain just for storage or for the vehicles, that it cannot become a dwelling unit that people can live in. Because for the zoning of the property, it's not allowed to become that. So if you do allow them to have this structure, that they cannot turn it into a dwelling unit. I just wanted to note that if you do allow them to have the variance.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We do understand that, and there's definitely no plans for this to be a dwelling, strictly garage.
Yep, we just need to note that for in the future, if you aren't the owners and someone else attempts to do that, that is a condition of the structure being on the property.
It's good to make it clear.
Absolutely.
I make a motion, we approve the variance subject to the staff comments that we just heard about not allowing the intended garage area to be used for residential purposes.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, can I please get a roll call vote?
Dennis Brennan,
Yes.
Clayton Pangle,
Yes.
Brendan DeVore,
Yes.
Kevin Bookout,
Yes.
Cam Carey,
Yes.
Tim Dixon, Abigail Altos.
Yes.
Yes. That's just hard to find. Sorry about that.
All right.
Thank you very much. Are there any committee reports or staff reports for this? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
So
Alright.
Build your house. Go, go.
Pam, say build it.
Thank you.
Give us a build it.
Go get a permit.
Build it.
Yeah, so we need to get a building permit.